Okay, guys, how you doing? Welcome to the Fitness Business Authority podcast with me, Liam Thompson. You're listening to episode 3, and today we've got a very special guest. Give it up for Joey Percia. How's it going, Joey?
That's good. Thanks for having me. I felt like I should have, like the way you said it, there should have been a round of applause, how you said
we
it.
can get that added in later. We'll just pretend. So, Joey, do you want to let everybody know what it is you do?
Yeah. So I write personality-based sales copy for people who are the face of their brand. So a lot of the people are in health and fitness, but most of the time it's just someone who has a face to their company.
So you've just launched your own book, which I'm about halfway through at the minute, and it's called Why Do You Hate Money? Why did you choose to name it?
Yeah, it's funny. I get both love and it's either people love the title or they hate it. They're like, "That's the stupidest title." I'm like, "Well, that's cool," but I get people to love it too. So the title is, and it's a lot of the reason I got into writing copy and kind of put me in the position where I'm at now was I wasn't comfortable selling, and I didn't know how to sell. And I mean, part of the subtitle in that is learning how to master the science of selling without selling out. Yeah, so that's the whole thing, and it's the way that I write copy, and a lot of the stuff in the book is mindset shifts of understanding that when you're able to communicate your message in a way that helps people, you're not selling out, and like you're able to help more people, which is why I wrote the book. And you help more people, you make more money, your life gets better, and the world goes round and round.
Yeah, it's why people in the fitness industry get into fitness in the first place or decide to open a gym. It's ultimately because they want to help more people. And if you can start thinking about it like that, then you, as a result of that, will make more money. So I've really enjoyed what I've read of the book so far. And we were talking earlier about the recommendations from my book, The Clarity Project, in terms of the books that we'd read and the influences that we had. That there are a lot of similarities. Obviously, we'd mentioned The Game by Neil Strauss, which, although it's not a marketing book, it's a book for basically teaching guys how to pick up women.
Yeah.
It is a marketing book, essentially. And the other one was Influenced by Robert Cialdini, which again wasn't written as a marketing book. It was actually written as a tool for the general public to see when they were being marketed to. But so what were your influences by choosing those, and then what other books would you recommend in terms of who you've been influenced by?
Yeah. Those books came up, same thing. They had a big influence in where I'm at today. And The Game started I can't remember. It was years ago when I first read that. And that was I feel like what most people do at the time. You get out of a serious relationship or a bad relationship, or you're just not good at picking up girls. It's one of those two. And you're like, all right, let me get better at this thing. Or just because you're, not confident in some sort of way. So I dug into that. And then I later came to realize that a lot of that same stuff is just it's all communication, which is what copy and marketing is. It's just a way to communicate a message to another person. And you can do it in your words and videos. So it's written, video, visual, there's tons of different ways to do it, but it's just understanding that all that stuff is linked together. And the better you can get at doing that, the better at everything in your life is, not just your business. You're able to have more meaningful relationships with better people, or people that you want to. You're able to get meetings with people, interviews that you wouldn't have been able to get before. There's just limitless possibilities when you can do that. And The Game was that early start for me. And looking back, I was like, oh, this helped me teach a lot of the stuff. I was just able to connect the dots. And Influence the same thing. It was, I read that later on. I read that when I was already into the marketing stuff. But it's just a great book, and that he has a lot of great principles in there that they help you connect the dots a lot easier.
Yeah, I read the game in about 2008. I just actually got out of a long-term relationship, and I was blown away by it, to be honest. And then I read the follow-up to it, which was called The Rules of the Game.
Mm-hmm.
And that was basically an online course that they turned into a book, which was 30 days of doing all these things step by step. And
did you go through that? Did you do everything?
Did it? No, I went through about half of it.
Okay.
But I mean, I was just an average guy. I wasn't really particularly bad at meeting girls, but I was just really interested in the psychology. And this was at the time when I was doing a lot of reading on NLP and trying to learn to be better at stuff. And it's just interesting to see the differences. I mean, it's the same with Robert Cialdini's book. I mean, that was recommended to me by one of my old fitness mentors, a guy called Paul Mort.
Yeah, Paul's awesome.
Paul was one of my first coaches in the fitness industry, really, when I became a personal trainer, and that was one of the first books that he'd recommended to us. So that was why I included it in what I do. But here, I love what you've got to say about communication and marketing being how to communicate effectively, because I see it everywhere. When we look at personal trainers' websites and we look at big gyms' websites, they're not really communicating with the people that they should be. Give you an example. I saw an ad last week for a huge big gym here in the UK, and their ad was a picture of an empty gym. And it just annoyed me. I Instagram messaged them and said, "Who's doing your marketing for you? Because it's awful." To see a picture of an empty gym.
Empty gym, yeah.
Where are the smiling, happy members? Where are the people getting results? And it's just a lack of communication. And it's because they don't understand their market, and it's because they don't understand that they're not a place that's full of equipment and where people go to exercise. They're a place where people go to get results, to change their lives, to have fun, to take them out of their stresses of everyday life. And whoever was doing these guys' marketing just didn't understand that. And this is where I think that guys like you who understand how to turn that into words, you are invaluable when it comes to stuff like this.
Yeah, it is a invaluable skill. Because like I mentioned before, you can do so many other things as opposed to just like writing copy for building your business right now. But that's actually a great point with that gym and that company. So what they're doing is what a lot of people do, and they're selling their features. They're selling like this awesome gym, and they probably don't realize it. They probably just don't even think like look how cool this gym is. Like, we have all of this equipment. We have everything you'll ever need. It's big. There's so much space. Everything is brand new. It's cutting edge. Just like the people do the same thing with like their cutting edge workouts and like all that stuff. They're selling features. They're not selling the benefits. They're not selling the end result that someone's going to get. They're not selling the feeling that they're going to get from finally, reaching that goal of whatever it is, or just like the stress that's going to be relieved from just getting rid of this problem that they have. And don't get me wrong, like features are important to include, but just benefits are way more important.
Where do you start? Where do you start when it comes to writing some copy? What's the first process that happens? I mean, for us, it would be obviously the avatar research.
Yeah.
When a client comes to you and they're like, "Joey, I need you to write some copy for my website," what's the first thing that you would generally do with them?
Yeah. So first, we obviously figure out what the goal is, like what the end result is that this person wants, both for the business and then for the user. So, or the consumer. So like, I have a lot of people who, come to me to write copy, and they're like, "Hey, I need the sales page." I'm like, "All right, well, what are you trying to do? Like, what's the goal for this?" I'm just trying to sell this program. I'm like, okay, well, like, do you want, and they're like, someone told me I need like a long form sales page. I'm like, okay, maybe, but like, what do you actually want to get out of it? What are you doing? Like, who's coming to this page? what is happening before this, who, like you mentioned, who this person is. So there's so much that goes into it. So it's basically a big brainstorming session of figuring out what exactly the result that you want is and who the person is. And when it comes to who the person is, there's a lot, like, if you go pretty much anywhere in marketing and even in like just regular business building, it's not even like marketing focused. Someone's going to talk about building your avatar and like figuring out who your avatar is. The problem that I found, the problem that I had before I knew all this, was people look at demographics. They're looking at age and then they're putting a name to it, and they're doing, where this person lives and all this stuff. But what they're missing, and the most important part, is the psychological stuff that this person's going through. So like, why are they trying to like, what is the problem? Obviously, why are they trying to solve this problem? What does this person do? Like the age and all that stuff, that's good for targeting if you're doing like paid advertising and stuff like that. And that's good to know if you're doing location-based stuff, you're a local business. But there's so much more to it when that's actually going to come out when you're actually writing your copy. Like you talk about, like the psychological stuff, because that's how you know how they communicate. That's how you know the words they use, who they talk about, what they're seeing and happening in their life every day. And like, that's where the gold is. And when you can like find that and dig that stuff up, like in my book, I call that mind reading. When you can like write something that the person's like, oh my God, I feel like that's written for me. Like, I feel like you're reading my mind. Your copy writes itself. And there's actually a quote that I have in there somewhere. I honestly don't remember who it is. It's in one of the chapter titles, but it's basically like, copy's not written. It's like put together, because it's getting all these pieces and doing all these things. And you're just like, oh, this makes sense here. This goes here, and then you learn like persuasion triggers and like, okay, this gets someone to do this. This is the path I want to lead them down. So it's constructed.
Yeah. Dan Kennedy wrote a book called The Ultimate Sales Letter.
Yeah.
And there's a list of 10 questions in there.
Mm-hmm.
I use those as an example of questions to ask yourself in my book. I'm not sure if it's in your book.
I actually have them in there too.
Yeah, I haven't finished it yet.
I have some other ones too, yeah.
So yeah, we'll talk about the copyright issues later when we get off this call. But if you can ask the questions like, what keeps your client up at night? What are their biggest problems? What are the frustrations? Then it starts to get, it feels like when they read your copy that you're inside their head and they're like going, how does this guy know all this?
Yeah.
And I remember one of my own coaches telling me that everyone has essentially the same problems. And one of my favorite copywriters is Perry Belcher. And one of his quotes is, people always want to be richer, skinnier, and get laid more. And if you can focus on those three, then you'll win with your copy. Because you go into another level there when you're talking about benefits. That's going to the next level after benefits. Yeah. But really, I love all this stuff. So who's been your influences in terms of copywriting?
As far as like actual copywriters?
Yeah, who have you learned from?
Yeah, I learned a lot from John Carlton.
Yeah.
Is one guy. Dan Kennedy has great stuff.
For those of you guys who don't know who John Carlton is he based in LA, and he worked with Gary Halbert back in the day, who was a pretty famous copywriter back in the 60s, 70s, and early 80s.
Yeah. So Halbert stuff's great. Gary Bencivenga. There's a lot.
You find that you get to a point where you sort of have to stop learning, and because I imagine in terms of with copy that you can't really learn, once you sort of learn it, you can't really learn anything new, because what worked 50, 60, 70 years ago still works, because human psychology hasn't changed in the last 70 years.
Yeah, I mean that's actually an interesting point. Some some stuff is obviously, and then stuff has changed as well because the laws have changed. So like what you can actually say when you're writing copy is very different.
Yeah.
those guys used to sell supplements and make like these outrageous claims that it's going to cure this thing. Like when you're writing supplements, you can't actually say that. You can't say it's going to cure something. So like they could do that and say it sells stuff way easier than you can today. But now obviously we have the benefit of being able to target people better with marketing, like, you know, with paid advertising stuff. But you know, it's interesting because you'll find the same thing with like copy marketing as you will with training. People have like kind of specific schools of thought and ways that they do things that work for them. So like same thing, you find the same things in copy marketing. Like people will say this way is the best way, and other guys will say this way is the best way. They both work. It's just kind of, it's again, knowing who the person you're talking to is, the situation that they're in, all that stuff. But yeah, it's like at the core of it, good copy and good marketing is good. Like, you know, they have the same principles, but there's, you know, definitely little tweaks and stuff that, you know, people use, kind of have their own flair on things.
Yeah, I guess it's down to preference, really. I mean, it's down to learning from lots of different people and then putting your own spin on it. And I guess that's what makes the difference.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's what I actually recommend a lot of people, like pick like 2, 3, maybe 4 people max, and just learn from them. Like, don't try and get everything that you can get. Like I like going deeper in something as opposed to wider. So you just like learn the stuff that, you know, things that you resonate with, get really good at that stuff. Go like read it over and over and over again, as opposed to just reading like, you know, 100 books one time. You read like a couple books like multiple times.
Yeah, I've done that. I think I've read the 4 Hour Work Week about 6 times.
Yeah.
I'm on to Where Does It Sell?
Yeah.
I think I've read that about 1 million times.
Yeah, that's great. Because that's like, you just reference that too.
Yeah, it's just a reference book. Yeah. And then the Copywriting Handbook by Joe Sugarman is one that sort of would be my copywriting Bible.
Yeah, nice.
But so one of the things that you had a bit of a mention in your book was storytelling. Storytelling when it comes to copywriting. What do you mean by storytelling?
Telling stories. So like,
and why is that important? I know the answer to that. But I guess that's a bit of a loaded question.
No, I mean, so stories help people connect better with your message, who you are, what you're saying, and there's lots of benefits to it, but that's the main benefit of it. They speed up the know, like, and trust process that everyone talks about. You take you from like not really being comfortable with someone to being like, oh wow, like I feel really connected with you. You know, whenever you're in groups of people, if there's a great storyteller, people they gravitate to that person. And if you can do that in your writing, you're going to win. That's stories help people, like I said, they help people connect. So that's what's going to separate you from your competition. And like that in itself is just huge with business. So that's why, you know, when I, like with my clients, I write a lot of personality based stuff. So I pulled stories out of people and like, that's what I'm putting in the writing. So that, you know, that it takes away a lot of the competition. I'm doing air quotes since you're just listening to this, quote unquote competition, because you're the only person that can be you. Your business is, you know, it's different. So if you can let people know that, that's how you become like the only option at that point for that person. So they know like, oh, this is the problem that I have. Joey's problem fixes this. I'm going to go to him, as opposed to like, oh, well, it's just kind of 15 different options in my town solve the same problem. I'll probably just see which one's the cheapest and go to them. So you know, that helps you again, not compete on price, as opposed to just being like the only option to solve a specific problem.
Yeah. It also gives you unlimited content when you can tell stories, because you're not preaching to people all the time. Because you've got someone on your email list and you're a personal trainer or a gym, and all you're trying to do is, oh, come and join my gym, come and join my personal training classes or sessions or whatever you're selling, then people are going to switch off to that very quickly.
Yeah, exactly. And again, like stories are a way to brag too. Like if you tell a story about a client that got this result, It's not just like, I get people like these results and like all that stuff. You're not saying that. You're like, hey, let me tell you a story about Janet who lost 30 pounds, training with us. And then you go into all that stuff. And ideally the problems and the struggles that Janet's faced and the hurdles she's had to jump over in her life relate to, the person reading it. And that's how you connect these stories and make sure you tell the right stories to the right people. And that's how like it speeds up everything.
Yeah. And if Janet, right. So most fitness industry people think that what Janet wants is to lose 40 pounds. That's not really what Janet wants. So if you can talk about that, and let's say the benefit of Janet losing 40 pounds was that she met the love of her life, or she got a new job and got a raise, or even as darkened as her and her husband fell in love again. These are the real life reasons as to why people buy stuff.
Yeah. Or just like, it's funny bringing that, just the uncertainty of her husband wandering eyes looking at it like all the girls that walk by, because he doesn't look at her the same anymore.
Yeah, you've seen that meme that's very popular on the internet at the minute. It's the guy with his girlfriend and he's looking behind him.
No.
I'll send it to you after this. It's pretty funny. It's, so I have completely forgot where I was going to go with this.
I don't know. I was going to say something too, and I forgot. On that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point you brought it up. Janet doesn't want to lose 30 pounds. She wants like the feeling, whatever she's going to get out of it. Janet might not tell you that. So that's still good to kind of like include some of the surface level stuff in your writing and in your messages, because someone they might not even know the real reason that they want to do this. They might not even want to, they won't admit to themselves that it's like a confidence thing or something like that. It's a tightrope. Yeah.
And what we find from our clients, and I used to email every day when I had my fitness business, and now we've got our other businesses. I still email our list every day. And sometimes you'll send an email and it's got a little pain point in there, and you'll get an email back from someone who wants to buy, and are like, your email really triggered me today. There was something that you said that just made me have a think.
Yeah, and you get that from stories and feelings. You don't get that from just like shoving information that's down someone's throat. Like you'll really get it.
You definitely don't get that from saying that you've got the best treadmills in town.
Yeah, yeah, the best gym. Yeah, exactly. Like, yeah. It's very rare that you'll just like shove information down someone's throat in an email, or just shove general content on something, and someone will be like, "Oh wow, I really resonate with this," or "I really needed this." Like you don't get it from that type of stuff. You get it from telling the stories and pulling feelings out and doing that.
I guess the magic about this is that you're building real world relationships, because we tell our clients that marketing is essentially about building relationships, and it doesn't matter. I mean, like if you think about the process of meeting a life partner, it's exactly the same as marketing. You've got to take things step by step. You've got to have the know, like, and trust. And the only way to do that is to be in constant communication, talk to them, take things slowly. Don't try and get to the end goal on the first meet. Like if someone sees one of your ads for their gym, and you're trying to sell a 12-month membership, it's really unlikely that they're going to buy that if they don't know who you are.
Yeah, especially depending on where they are in their life, and that's a great point. Like a lot of people relate marketing and sales to getting laid and getting married, and there are a lot of similarities too. But again, and that's a good point. It's like the right message at the right time. So a lot of people, when they're like, oh, when they meet their partner, it's the right person, but it's also the right time too, like where they're at in their life. You can meet someone as a great point. I met my wife, who we are head over heels for each other. I met my wife in college, which was at this point, maybe, I don't know, maybe like 8 years ago or something like that. And maybe a little less now. That was it. Like we just saw each other in passing. Like I had a huge crush on all that stuff, but I also was in another relationship, and I, and like I was at the point in my life, I didn't like want something serious, and it was all this stuff. And then I ended up like reconnecting a couple years later, or a couple years ago. We are at completely different points in our lives. If we actually would have met and I would have tried dating her at that time, it would have never ended up anywhere, because I wasn't at the right point in my life. And where were we at when we reconnected? Completely different places in our life, and here we are.
So how you would relate that story to your marketing is go and build your email list, have conversations with them every day. Because if it's a weight loss client, for example, they might not be ready to take that first step and go and sign up to a gym or go and sign up for a personal trainer. But if you're in constant communication with them and you're telling your stories and they resonate, then when this person is ready and they have the confidence to take the next step, then your business is the only choice for them.
Yeah.
They're not going to go Googling personal trainers or gyms in their town. They're going to go to their inbox, open up their emails or the Facebook group that they're in, and they're going to pick up the phone.
Yeah, they're not going to go back and, like you said, they're not going to start from square one trying to build a relationship with someone they trust, because they already have that relationship with someone. Now it's just like, they're like, oh, wow, I need to solve this problem. And back to what I was saying, like I mentioned before, a lot of people, they don't even necessarily know that, like people know of fitness and health, but some problems that they have in their life that are related to that, they don't know that doing that can fix it. You know what I mean? They're not like sure, like, oh, wow, this can actually help improve this area of my life. Like I actually just had a pretty bad concussion not too long ago, and I've had a bunch in my life. I've had like 8 at this point, maybe more. And the doctors that I was seeing, they kept telling me, first they were just like, oh, just rest and all that shit. I'm like, no. There's stuff I can do. Like we can do this to get better. And then there's other ones that some were like knew a little bit more, but they're like, oh, make sure, this is a good one. Make sure your nutrition is good, or like you eat good. And I'm like, okay, what does that mean to you? Like, what are you telling me that? Because that means, like, I come from a health and fitness background. There are lots of different diets. There are lots of different types of things. Like things do different stuff in your body. So what does eating good? Oh, just eat clean foods. And I'm like, okay, so you tell me, what are clean foods to you? Like, what does that mean? Because there's some, the whole concussion and that side of things, it's not well researched still. I still don't know a lot of the things like recovery. So some guys say like keto super good just because it's, helps with inflammation a lot. So they'll go to that thing. There's other people like, no, you need to have, just don't have a lot of sugars, but you need all these carbs. Like it's just completely screwed up, but they don't know how to solve that problem. And they're just like, they just say a very general answer. So if someone's like, do this, here's the research that helps this. I'm like, I'm going to that person. Like, I just can't find these people. I can't, like people just don't even know how to there's not enough connection. And I'm sure there's people out there who know how to do this and they do this very well. But they're at this point, their marketing isn't good because like I'm actively searching for it and I'm not finding it. But there's people that don't even know they have this problem. So like there's other people, I know tons of people are just like, oh, you just have to, like said, they just told me you just have to rest. There's tons of people who have this problem and they're having all these issues with their brain and that are affecting their life that they don't even know that they can even solve it. If you got in front of them and we're able to solve it, or just let them know there's light on the other side, like it's huge.
And what you're talking about is it's a case for being a specialist as well, because if you were to find someone who specialized in nutrition for concussion, you just go. There's another meme, I don't know if you've seen it, Fry from Futurama, and he's got a big wad of cash, and it's like, take all my money.
Take my money, yeah.
So you'd go and buy. So yeah. I've got a knee injury at the minute, and my physio reckons it's possibly a lateral meniscus tear, and I've had that done before. So I'm looking for a knee surgeon to potentially, a knee specialist to fix it. And everyone I've spoke to have recommended this one guy who he does all the Manchester United players and the Manchester City players, which was close to where I live. And once they've told me that, I'm not considering going to anyone else. I want to go to this guy because this is what he does, and I know he can fix me without hacking my knee to bits.
Yeah, and maybe it might not be your immediate, like at the point where life, you're not like, I need to fix this right this second. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. But when you do that, like when you're like, okay, it's time, that's who you're going to go to.
Yeah. Well, it's funny actually, because I phoned so we've got NHS here in the UK, and then some people also have private medical insurance. So I'd phone my private medical insurance supplier and give them this guy's name, and they're like, he's on our list, but you're not covered for him. And I'm like, here's a list of people that you can go and see instead. And I'm like, I don't want to see anyone else. I want to see So I can go and see him on NHS, but I might have to wait 6 months.
Yeah.
I'm prepared to wait 6 months to see this guy.
Yeah. Because
all the stuff that I've seen says that this guy's the best.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I might be able to jump the queue, so we're not sure about that. but yeah, so how did you find the whole process of writing a book? Because I did one last year, and it took me 9 months to write.
Shit. Yeah, it was interesting. So I did everything pretty much myself, which like I won't do again in the future. I mean, from even like editing, and I had someone edit it too, but I did way more than I probably should have. It was good. It was fun. It was interesting. There were lessons. I write every day, so the writing wasn't an issue. And that was actually one of the reasons where I'm like, I was writing a ton of content every day. I'm like, why don't I just put this into a book and actually make this like a process and do something? So that's what I did. So yeah, I think it took me, I honestly don't know. It was anywhere from like 4 to 6 weeks to actually write it.
Wow.
But again, like some of the content that like I kind of wrote a lot of the general ideas of, and then I actually just, rewrote them into chapters, made it make sense, added stories, put call to actions in there. Did you get the workbook for the book?
Not yet.
Man.
The opt-in.
Yeah. That's opt-in. So yeah, that in itself, I wrote that and put that together. I was like, oh, this is awesome. Like, this is super helpful. And it was because I mean, like I said, I made that for an opt-in, but I ended up making it so it's kind of like a workbook, and it brings you through the exercise and actually brings you through the process. So you write your own sales messages. And I was like, dude, this is great. Like, I wrote the book because like that's what I wish I had when I was learning this stuff. It would have made everything so much easier. But so that actually took probably just as long, because like I did that and like I had this book. I'm like, okay, now I have to build this opt-in, and I just ended up being like massive and ridiculous. But as I was going through, I was like, oh, this would be helpful. This would be helpful. So it started, I was just gonna pull the stuff. With the copy checklist I have at the end of every chapter, I was just going to pull that stuff out. But then I'm like, oh, let me make it interactive so like people actually get something out of it. And it ended up taking way more time and being like this huge thing.
Yeah, I hired a coach to help me write it, and I was already 20,000 words in at this point. Yeah. And I sent her the manuscript, the Word document to have a read. She came back, she goes, "You got to start again. This is broken." So I was like, so then once we'd gone through the planning process, I basically hired her as an accountability coach, and she was on my back every week. Have you done this? Have you done this chapter? Have you done this chapter? So all I really did was just write it out, and then let other people edit it and do the book cover design, and I didn't really do anything apart from the content. Yeah,
definitely. It'll be more hands. Like, I'll just write it next time. Not like, and then also I did the launch and I did all that stuff like planning. So, cause I mean, I did want to know, I wanted to go through the process, and we were talking before the call. For me, the book wasn't, it's not to sell as many books as I can to make a bunch of money. It's just to get the book out there to help more people. And, in turn, like I said, I have the opt-in, so that builds my email list, and it just builds my audience as opposed to like making money from the book. So I just wanted to experience the process in itself, which is cool. And I'll write more books in the future, and they'll be a little bit different.
Yeah, I'm not sure I really want to write another book, to be honest. I'd finished it. I was like, that's me. I'm never writing one again.
Yeah.
So, I've got 3 questions for you. You might already have answered one. Number 1 is, if you could recommend one book to people, and you're not allowed to recommend your own, but you can recommend mine if you want, to people who are listening, what would it be?
Marketing specific or just life specific?
It can be life or marketing.
I always recommend The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks.
The Big Leap by
Gay Hendricks.
Okay, cool. We'll check that out. And where can we find your book, Why Do You Hate Money?
On Amazon.
Okay, Amazon.com, Amazon.co.uk.
Yeah, it's both, I guess. So actually, if you go to just joeypercia.com/why do you hate money, it'll actually bring, I don't know, someone help me that, and it just brings you to whatever Amazon you're in. So like you're in the UK, it'll bring you to that Amazon. Because I didn't even realize there were different ones in different countries when I first did it. So I was like, you need to put it in there. I'm like, oh, I don't know what to do. They're like, here, just do this. So I just made the link, and that goes to wherever you are. So like if you're in a complete, like, in the UK, it'll bring you to like UK. So yeah.
I wish I had known that, because I've been putting the 2 different links in my emails.
Yeah.
If you're in the UK, go here. If you're in the USA, go here.
Yeah. I forgot what it was called, but someone got me like early on. Like I think the day or 2 after I launched it, they're like, "Oh, do this." I'm like, "Oh, sick, thanks." So I made things.
How are we doing in terms of reviews? Or are you getting some good reviews on there?
Yeah, it's good. I actually gotta remind some people because I get tagged in them every day, and I just we're at maybe, I don't know, 40 or something on Amazon, and that was for like mostly from the beginning. But I get people like every day tagging me in pictures and like reposting them and stuff, and I just need to remember that. Still on Amazon, so like let's get reviews on there.
Yeah, I think I'm up to 36 reviews on UK and about 10 on .com. But once you get to 50, Amazon start to give you a little bit of a boost.
I didn't know that. Oh, that'll
50
I'll do
is
that
the
this
magic
week.
number for reviews. So
I gotta do
last
that.
question was, where can we find you? But you've already answered that, which was joeypercia.com.
Yes.
Cool. So that's where you would like people to go if they want to reach out to you?
Yeah. Yep. You can go there. And then, like I mentioned, you can get the workbook for the book. Even if you don't have it, they'll still get something out of it. Obviously, they work better hand in hand, and I explained that at the beginning. But that's on there too. You can grab that for free. Just joeypercia.com.
Okay, cool. Joey, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on today. You've been listening to the Fitness Business Authority podcast. Take care, guys. See you next week. Cheers.
Thank you.